This episode of Everyman's Arsenal podcast is proudly sponsored by Nocturn Industries. Introducing the Daisho Bridge, seamlessly connect two night vision monocles to create a powerful dual tube setup. And don't miss out on the Chimera, Nocturn's panoramic night vision goggles. Upgrade your night vision game at nocturnindustries.com and use discount code TLDCO. Nocturn Industries, lighting the night for Everyman's Arsenal.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Everyman's Arsenal podcast, a podcast dedicated to learning more about the people behind the products that you might see on the Thin Line Defense Co. YouTube channel. And today we have Rob from Acetac Gear. Rob, welcome to the show, bud.
Jason, I appreciate you having me here, brother. It's good to see you.
Oh, it's funny that I guess you were doing like a live chat or something on Facebook or I think it was Instagram, and one of our viewers sent me a message, and he said he told me a couple times like, "Hey, make sure you ask Rob about level 4 underwear."
Level 4 tactical. You got to throw the
Tactical
tactical
underwear.
in there. It has
Yes.
because you could have level 4, but it's got to be higher speed apparently than the other level 4 underwear that's out there
Yeah.
now. Yeah, we want to make sure we get that out there.
Well, this
Yeah.
is the same viewer that introduced us to Acetac Gear. We were gaming one night on a video game stream, and he chimed in and said, "If you guys heard of Acetac Gear, I think he just bought something of you guys from Amazon,
Cool.
and we had it, and so we started doing some research. And then, of course, meeting you at SHOT Show was awesome. So it's kind of great for me to like put all the pieces together. I know I was teasing you because there was some information that I got wrong in my video, and so I was like, let's get Rob on the podcast to correct everything. But before we jump into you busting my balls, can you tell a little bit about yourself for the viewers that may not know about Acetac Gear or may not know about Rob? Like, what's your background? What got you started at Acetac? That type of stuff.
Okay. I'll keep the background brief.
Okay.
So some of you guys may know me from PowerTac. I was obviously working with PowerTac many years ago. Not many years ago, but it feels like a lifetime ago. Was law enforcement, got hooked up with the guys at PowerTac. One thing led to another. At SHOT Show one year, saw the Acetac booth. They had this little itty bitty booth, and you kid up, you wear gear. You know how it is, man. There's a difference between flashing lights and colors and fancy advertisements and just picking the gear up. And they had just started. I think they had their stuff like laying on a pallet from shipping. Like they just had a pallet and like some chest rigs, and I'm looking at it. And the dungeon at SHOT Show, they got that like downstairs, and you got like the 5x5 booths. I just happened to walk by and was like, "What is this?" And I picked it up and talked to one of the owners and talked to the quality, and just happened to let them know like, "Hey, send me a piece of kit out. Let me do some stuff on it. Let me check on it and test it out." And I was blown away by it, and I can sell a cracked water bucket that's gotta hold water if I'm passionate about it. You know what I
Sure.
mean?
Yeah.
I'm a sales guy. A little more about my background. I used to build race engines.
Oh,
I've done door-to-door sales. I've done just about every sales job you can have, but I always ended up being the boss. And the reason that I progressed that way is I won't enter a venture unless I'm passionate about it. Um, Time, energy, and effort is all I need to apply to something. And as long as I'm passionate about it, I can do that. Like I'm the guy that at 3 a.m. I'll look over at my wife if I see my phone go off and I'll be like, "Oh, somebody messaged us on Instagram." Like I'm that guy. I have to work. I
sure.
don't have kids. I've made that choice where it's like I enjoy work so much that I don't want to be the father that I know would be away from his children at all
Sure.
times
Yeah.
because he's so driven to
Focus
work. But
driven. Yeah.
yeah, so I kind of got on with the guys at Acetac and ended up being the director of brand development. And um, I'm obviously doing that for Everlit Survival as well. So Everlit Survival and Acetac. Everlit is a survival, or excuse me, Acetac technically is a subsidiary of Everlit.
Okay.
So they actually started out manufacturing medical bags, and they were like, well, we need a name for the medical bag. So they were like, oh, Acetac Gear. Because they
Hmm.
wanted to make it, I guess, to where Everlet Survival, they didn't want it to be a nylon company. They wanted to stick with the medical side. And organically, they made a chest rig, they made a couple other things, and it took off. And I kind of talked to them at the right time, and Everlet was doing really well. I came in right around the time they introduced Acetac, and the rest is history.
Yeah, that's one of the things that we were talking about at SHOT Show. Um, I think this was off camera. I don't think we got this on camera. I was surprised with the medical kits that Acetac has on their website. Maybe it's Everlet medical kits, but that you're using, genuine cat tourniquets.
Oh yeah.
Not some knockoff cat tourniquet that you see in a lot of these other kits. So how how has it been that they're able to keep their prices so low while still? And I don't know if you know this question, but keep the price so low while still being able to provide good quality materials to the consumers.
So great question, and I am prepared to answer that pretty in detail. So around the time that COVID started, Everlet started,
Okay.
and the owner of Everlet Survival is actually ex-military, I believe, U.S. Army, and there's a couple of them, and one of them was a medic, if my memory serves me. So he was kind of passionate about the medical side, and what ended up happening was, I guess they just basically were like, "Hey, we're going to jump in, 100% jump in." And obviously, some of our stuff is manufactured overseas. We don't hide it. But where we can manufacture really high quality gear, we will do so. So, to give you an example, I'll take one of our kits here. It's funny you brought up the trauma kit. So, I'll open up this trauma kit. Perfect. Here's some chest seals. So, anything that Everlit or Acetac can manufacture and manufacture well, we'll buy in huge quantities. So obviously you drive the price down by buying in
Yeah.
bulk, right? So at SHOT Show, one of the things I was doing was taking our chest seals because a high fin chest seal, what are they? $20,
Yeah.
$15, $18. So we can reduce our costs by manufacturing our own, and these are actually our design, right? But if I take this chest seal, I know it's on itself. You ever have one of those GPS car mounts that go to your windshield, and if you
Yep.
try and pull them off, it's a nightmare?
Yep.
Kind of the same medical grade equivalent. So I take this chest seal, it's ripping my hairs up. I can vent it if I need to. But what I was doing at SHOT Show was I was throwing it on the carpet on the floor, picking it up, sticking it to people, and pissing them off. Especially the guys with the tattoos that don't have the hair growing, and it
Yeah.
just really sticks to their skin. So the quick answer to some of that is we manufacture what we can to keep costs low because we can buy in quantity, right?
Yeah.
But the cat tourniquet, the quick clot, something that is absolutely essential, there's no such thing as cutting a corner.
Mm.
So, we've talked about it off camera. I don't know if I've mentioned it yet. I think I have, being law enforcement, but having applied a tourniquet more than once and saving somebody's life, we had a guy, night shift call, guy's arguing with his wife, punches through one of the 1940s storm doors that was actual glass.
Whoa.
And you remember back in the day, glass used to shatter very different. Like it
Yep.
would just be a sharp shard. And this guy was just leaking out. And I want to say almost 2 liters of blood on the ground. I mean, he was
Golly.
you could see the fluid, the hydraulic fluid had left the body. And pulled the cat tourniquet out, ripped it down on him. Medical gets there, they're high fiving me, EMS and stuff. Great job, man. And it's one of those things that I've tried the cheap tourniquets before I was actually with Acetac and Everlit. There's just some things you don't save money on.
Yeah.
If somebody came out with a cheaper airbag for a Mercedes Benz and I found out it was pennies on the dollar for what it was, not going to be a good deal.
Yeah.
So the stuff that we can save money on, we try and do that because we want a certain market for our customers. I'm not going to name names, but the top tier USA made guy used to be an operator, now he's making gear, or top tier USA made guy used to be an operator, now he's making gear. Those guys are awesome. I know them personally. I've shaken hands, I've talked to them, I've got their numbers, we've chatted. You know what I mean? But I don't want those one percenters.
Yeah.
I want everybody in between because a lot of guys aren't going to spend $300 on a trauma kit they could buy for 120 bucks.
Yeah.
A lot of guys aren't going to spend $400. I mean, you know as well as I do, 2:30 in the morning fighting the head nods on night shift, you're looking at gear. You know, you're
Yep.
thinking of it's a Thursday night and you're Friday morning. You're like, hey, I want to buy something, but you can't afford with a family to buy a $400 chest rig or
Yeah.
$300 chest rig. And then you
Yeah.
got to buy
Or it's
magazines. You know.
right. Or it's those times where you're in the car, you're sitting down, and you realize like, oh, this kit isn't as comfortable. Like it was cool. I like how it functions, but it's not comfortable when I'm in this position. Sitting in a
Hmm.
car is so.
Hmm.
For example, one of my plate carriers has the Ferro Concepts Roll One IFAC that I
Which
have it.
which which one is that? What's that one look like?
It looks like a tube almost like a cylinder,
Yeah, I
and
know
it
I know what you're talking about.
I
Yeah.
have it. I had it mounted on the bottom of my rear plate bag. So the idea is I could reach right behind my plate bag and I could pull either side, and functions really well. Looks cool. You got this thing sitting right below your plate bag, and when you're out on a warrant or something like that, you have zero. I have zero issues with it. But you sit down to type up your report, or you're sitting in your vehicle, and you're like, "This thing sucks. I got to pull it out and set it aside so I'm comfortable sitting in here." And then you got to have either take your plate carrier off to stuff this thing back in, or have your buddy stuff it back in the carrier for you. So I totally get that where things just because it's made by a very good company and it has a name that's well known doesn't necessarily mean that it's the best product for you. You're going to have to shop around and find what works best for you.
So there's two answers I've got to that, and I know you didn't ask a question, but there's two answers. One, it sounds like you need our new EDC trauma kit, which if you really want me to go grab one, I'll go grab one and I'll show you. And two, mission dictates gear.
Oh yeah,
And nobody, and you know, I hate speaking operator lingo, right? But there are guys that will get into a stone cold argument with me when I make a comment on we did a YouTube video, chest rigs 101. And of course there's guys that you shouldn't be wearing a chest rig if you're, gonna go and visit violence and the 45-minute sermon, on
yeah,
the hill. And it's like, do you know there's guys that drop in on helicopters into foreign countries and don't have plates on and do recon? Like, do you know
yeah,
so there's always XYZ. I've had guys tell me cut and dry, I would never throw a plate carrier on if I had to deal with an active shooter. I'm going, well, why would
mm,
you not? Why would you not do that? And civilian side, or like, hey, I'm off duty. I don't have my
yeah.
fallout gear, my turnout gear, and I'm like, well, why? And they're like, because if you go in there with a plate carrier on, somebody's gonna think you're the bad guy. If you're not in
That's
uniform,
that's fair.
they're gonna think you're the bad guy. And I'm like, but even as patrol, I've thought about it and gone, yeah, what would I do if all of a sudden I saw some like 3%er just come charging in the room shooting a gun?
Yeah,
I mean, how do you truly identify that guy? Because I don't know your background. You've got some salt in the game. Obviously, you've been a police officer longer than I was. Um, that's a different moment, man.
yeah.
You
Oh,
know.
I'm thinking of there was this scenario that just happened. I think it was in France or it was in Germany. They get a call about a knife wielding suspect,
Hmm.
and so police show up, and there is a person on top of another person. So the person that's on top, they automatically assume bad guy, right? They pull him off, police throw him, and there's a picture, a still frame of the cop has who they thought to be the bad guy face down. He's reaching around back, so he's got one hand on the supposed subject, reaching around back to grab his cuffs, and you see the guy that he just pulled him off of is inches away with a knife, right to go in the cop's neck, kills the cop. I mean, he actually went through with it and killed the cop. So you're
Brutal,
absolutely right that police officers, I mean, it just happened. They come to a situation,
brutal.
they see, that there's their perception of what's going on in front of them, and I feel bad for police officers because they have to make a split second decision, and then they're
Hmm.
constantly Monday morning quarterbacked on. Right? I look at that picture and I just think, man, if he would have just taken a second or two to figure out who really is, what's going on, why are you holding this guy down, instead of just let's de-escalate the situation, not knowing that that's going to lead to his life being ended.
You're right, but there's two things to that. One, seconds count,
Hmm.
right? And two, oh, that officer could have saved that guy if he didn't take that 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 second window. And you've seen that a million
Yeah.
times.
Yep.
Oh, well, that officer should have done this and should have done that. Um, I think the funniest thing that is an argument that I never want to get into, and I'll gladly do it on here and let people blow it up in the comments, and I'll try and ignore it. But when you get a guy who was military, and when I say military, nothing against people in admin, nothing against people doing psyops, but I mean boots on the ground military and a patrol officer. I always ask them what was harder. And 9 out of 10 that I get personally, and it might be different for you, is oh, it was a lot easier over there than here. Like the life sucked,
Yeah.
not being able to shower, being away from your family. But over here, and this was my biggest thing that I always asked them, like, can you actually turn off over here? Because like you go over there, you might have PTSD, horrible thing. You might have horrible memories, you might have horrible experiences, but you don't have to worry when you go get a biscuit in the morning if you put that guy in jail for heroin.
Right.
You don't have to worry about, hey, if I take my daughter to the theater and, some guy turns around and recognizes me from XYZ and the one time that I didn't have my head on a swivel and I tried to relax,
Yeah.
here comes this guy. So I always ask them about that, and and I've had more guys like, you're kind of right. Like
So
I can't really relax.
it's funny you should mention that. There was I did investigations in the military the last few years I was in the military,
Okay.
and we had this arson investigation. So an actual like base police officer set a bus on fire, like $100,000 bus. And I mean, long story, long backstory behind him. But anyways, we got him. We got a confession. He went to jail, and I forgot how much. It wasn't long. It was like 3 months that he got in county lockup. Um, and so I was living on base at the time, and it was Halloween. I'm sitting on my front porch handing out candy, and these two kids come by, and I oh, great costumes, give them the candy. I say, happy Halloween. And the dad says, make sure you tell him thank you. And it just clicked, like both of us at the same time, like, man, that voice sounds familiar. And I look up and it's my arson subject that just got out of
Really?
jail the day before. Right. I'm texting my boss and like, hey, I don't know. He's on base. I don't know how he got on base. Turns out his wife is still active duty military, and so he still had base access, even though he was just kicked out of the military.
Oof.
My neighbor across the street was a base firefighter, so I went over to him like, "Hey, dude, if you wake up tomorrow and our house is burnt down, like this is the guy. Look into this guy."
That's him.
But 100%, man. There's those times where you think you're doing the right thing. Sometimes it comes back to bite you in the butt, and
Hmm.
I don't, and not that I was a combat guy or anything like that, but when I was deployed, I never questioned something like that happening.
Yeah.
So
It's
I
it's
would say
it's
it's a
such
lot
a
easier
weird.
over there
Well,
than it was here.
but I hate saying easier. And again, I can't speak
Yeah,
to it.
you're
I've
right.
never been there, but it's different. And to me the difference is this is what you're fighting to protect.
Hmm.
But when you're a police officer, you can't turn that away.
Yeah, that's true.
You can't go, "Oh, when I was in this place it was bad," or "When I was in that place it was bad." You get on a jet, you fly 5,000 miles away. No offense, some guy in a cave or a dirt hut is not going to get on a Boeing 757 or whatever it is and
Yeah,
fly
come
over
back in.
here and knock on your door and be like, "You and me got to hash this out." But everybody you deal with in law enforcement, that's a possibility,
Yeah,
you know?
it's something. I've never had this happen outside of the military. When I did the investigations in the military, anyone that got sent to prison, um, for the length of time that they were in military, a military penitentiary, I would get a letter in the mail from like the military prison system saying whenever the
Right.
inmate was transferred somewhere, you were notified, or hey,
Hmm.
he's being released. Um, I don't think I've ever gone that with anybody that I've locked up on the civilian side.
So, are you able to speak to what system you're running?
What do
So
you
like
mean?
we have a system in North Carolina called well, I'll leave the name out of it just in case. I don't know if that's, but we have a watch feature.
Okay.
So every time I'll run a guy's OL or I'll do something, I would click on that thing and you'd see, hey, here's the deal. That's the only way I know that we get them because I've sent guys to federal prison. I've had
Yeah.
guys that were counterfeiting. I've had guys doing a bunch of different stuff that I've sent to federal prison, and you would think you'd get a message like, "Hey, he got convicted. He got this. He got that. He's moved over here. Now he's moved over."
Yeah.
You don't get nothing.
No.
You don't get a word. Yeah,
Hmm.
but it's different. But all that to say, it sounds like you need the EDC trauma kit.
Yeah. I'm always medical gear is kind of it's kind of I don't know, learning having medical gear and taking more medical class. I've taken a couple trauma courses, and just last night I was talking with some of my buddies from the military. They had this training called Mystic training that they had at Fort Dix, New Jersey, and I mean it was basically a giant room. You had a central a control center that had basically it was like fake blood being pumped to these different dummies that
That's
were in
pretty
this
cool.
room. And so the idea was this was for my deployment training. So they simulated like a bomb going off. This was the the simulation was like a dining facility was just bomb. There was an IED at the dining facility. So you have to go in, and they have these dummies that have you know simulated chest wounds, arterial bleeds, all sorts of stuff. And you actually had to, you from your kit, you had to rip your tourniquet off. You had to put them on tight enough that it would register to the control center that you had it tight enough. Make sure that the chest seal was on. There's low light, so you're having buddies use flashlights, and there's smoke in there. And talk about like high stress level, even in a training environment, high stress level where you're actually putting tourniquets on dummies, but how tight you actually have to get them to work, how the chest seal can go on effectively, like a lot of that stuff. You think I think I have this on tight enough, and they go, nope. Okay, well I got to get another crank in this thing, or I got to take it all the way off, pull it tighter to start off, and then start cranking again.
Try
Great
to
training.
break it or break them is the way I used to tell people.
Yeah.
I've watched people apply the tourniquets like you're talking about it. You said Mystic?
Mystic training. Yeah.
So I've watched people try and apply tourniquets, and I'm like, hey, if it doesn't go brrr when you let go of the windlass and you don't
Yeah.
get it locked in there, and their arm doesn't have veins ripping out of it when you're done, you're not doing
Not
it
tight
tight
enough.
enough.
Yeah.
You know, you can
We had
always
one.
stop. You're not going to stop the bleeding too much,
Right. Right. Right.
but you cannot stop it.
Yeah, we had one where we had to apply tourniquets on our partner, and then they had the class was headed up by this retired ER doctor, and what he did is he came by and he checked your pulse, like, oh, I can still feel it slightly there, like you didn't do it tight enough. Yeah, yeah,
Yep, yep, yep. That's good training though, dude.
yeah. It
That's
was
good
because
training.
you know how painful it is to have a tourniquet applied to you to the point that it's tight enough to cut off circulation. Like
If they're conscious, they should be screaming.
yeah, yeah, it hurts. And from what I've heard, like I've never been shot, but it hurts worse than the wound that the person has. Like they're feeling that
I
tourniquet
could see
pressure
that.
more than
I could see that.
yeah.
And I've actually had a guy much smarter than me once tell me, because I used to nerd out on this stuff too all the time, especially when I was on the road. You can have an open wound, exposed, arm cut off, and you can crank that tourniquet down, and blood stops, and it's still not tight enough. They still have a pulse.
Mm, interesting.
They don't have enough blood in the body at that point, maybe,
Yeah.
But in my mind, I'm like, well, if blood's not flowing, he's like, that's a terrible way to think of it.
Yeah.
He said, because if you ever do it that tight once, the next time you'll think, okay, this is tight enough, and you might have a situation where
It's not
they
a,
get in an they get in an
yeah.
ambulance, they get somewhere, they get going down where the road it's not tight enough, and maybe they wake up or they get a burst of adrenaline or something, and all of a sudden it's the River Kwai flowing. So
Yeah.
because he was training somebody, and their argument was it's not bleeding. He's like, they don't have enough blood left in their body, or the wound's bad enough that it doesn't want to flow,
Hmm.
but it's not tight enough. So the guys I've talked to that are like nerded out over that stuff, they are
Yeah.
adamant that like you cannot put a tourniquet tight enough. And
So,
again, you talk about the North American stuff, the
right.
stuff we're running, we run the best, you know.
Yeah. And I guess that a question that just popped in my mind about that is who who at Acetac or at Everlet decides like what type of item should be in the kit?
Great question. All of us.
Okay.
All of us. So I don't, for some reason, I guess because people see my face, a lot of them are like, oh, that guy owns Acetac. So I
Yeah.
guess that's a good thing and a bad thing, right? But there's a couple owners because obviously Acetac Everlet is subsidiary. But if you go, you know, go to our website, check out the Meet the Team. Like, Bowen, he's been here. First thing he did when he got here was join the U.S. Army. His
Okay.
wife worked on the Tomahawk missile design. Like they're pretty in that realm. But you get two or three or four different people, even if that guy's not kind of a higher speed guy, or that guy that's not his jam. You know what I mean? He might have great feedback because guys like you and me will sacrifice comfort for the effectiveness of the gear, right?
Sure.
Because perfect example, you're running your roll tube, right?
Yeah.
You know what it can do what you need it to do, but you're sacrificing comfort because anyone else would go one time, two times in their patrol vehicle and go, "Man,
Forget
not
this.
this. I'm getting rid of
Yeah.
this thing."
Yeah.
But you keep wearing it. Why? Because it's good, because you like it. So it may be that I have an opinion on something, and I'm like, "Hey, this is the bee's knees, man. This is the jam right here." And one of those guys will chime up and be like, "Well, what if we did this?" And I'm like, "Message, you
Yeah.
know." So it's that checks and balances. What this country should have right now
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
is what we have at
Yeah.
Ace Tech
Checks and
Gears.
balances. What
Some
are
checks and
those?
balances. Yeah. So, but no, great question.
Now, having people with various backgrounds, I think would be kind of difficult working at a at a gear company, but it seems like it's been beneficial for you guys. What would you say would be the hardest part of working in this industry?
I will tell you the official answer, and then I will tell you what I probably shouldn't say on your podcast answer.
Okay.
So the
I don't want to get you
official
in trouble, Rob.
No, no, hey, I'll get me in trouble. Don't worry about it. I have a good habit of doing that. So you always have to have your sales hat on, right?
Sure.
There's always that perception that if it's not made in the USA, it's crap.
Hmm.
And then if you feed the trolls and you get in that argument and you go, all right, well, we export our multicam, all of our stuff that is manufactured here that we can do is manufactured here. But when we tried to manufacture in the USA, it was so expensive that we're going to go and compete with the market that we don't want.
Yeah.
I don't want to take business for some of those guys. I don't necessarily want military contracts to be our main focus. I like seeing our gear. I like when people run up to me at Blade Show this past weekend and they're like, "Dude, check this out. I'm wearing your stuff." High five, bro.
Yeah. That's
I
awesome.
like that. I like that the officer that's just got out of rookie school and his agency runs the classic 1970s Vietnam helmet because that's what they were given 30 years ago and they don't spend money. I like that he can afford our chest rigs.
Yeah.
So the hard part for me is, yeah, I want to be red, white, and awesome and do everything in the USA. But then I alienate a lot of my customers. And I'm smart enough to know that you can manufacture in Italy, you can manufacture in Greece, you can manufacture in China, you can manufacture in any part of Asia, you can manufacture in the Netherlands, you can manufacture anywhere, and you get what you pay for. So, our stuff, the double stitching takes time, it takes money, it takes effort. Exporting multicams takes time, takes energy, takes effort. But I don't want you as an officer to not have matching kit. If you buy multicam from this company, as long as it's legit multicam, it's going to match our kit.
Yeah.
We've got military guys using our stuff. We've got tier one guys using our stuff. I mean, it's no secret. But the hard part is you have to look at the pros and cons of everything. And that to me is a very difficult part of this industry, is because you'll have people that automatically discredit it. It's not made in the USA 100%. I don't want it. There's parts of it made in the USA. There's parts of it made overseas. But this awesome phone that I'm talking to you through, that's always the argument, right? Oh, well, an iPhone's made in China. An iPhone's made in there's another place they're making them. It's not just China. I know they say
I thought it
China,
was
but
the
it's not.
Philippines, but I might be
I think
wrong
it's
about
okay, the Philippines. But it's one of those things that I love the fact that this country has been as good to me, but I'm also very cognizant of the fact that I pay state taxes on my vehicle every year for I own that they don't pay any money for. I pay property taxes on this. I pay, and it's just
that. Yeah.
there's a lot of stuff in this country that could change, but that would be my biggest. Um, and I probably shouldn't say that because the trolls will come out in full force. But
That's
that to
fine.
me is there's always that. Do we just go? You know what? We're going to make everything in the USA and charge 4 or 5 times more.
Yeah. Well,
And
it's
and that's hard.
yeah. And that's something that we see a lot of. Some of my favorite plate carriers aren't made in the U.S. Like I love Agilite Gear. I love the Israeli guys. We've met them, and they're almost like family. Um, but their stuff's made in, I think it's Vietnam or Thailand, something like that.
And
Um,
it's probably great because
yeah, and
the stuff I've handled by them is great. You
I've
get what you pay
never had
for.
it. Yeah, that's true.
You get
But
what
I
you pay
also
for.
have some American made stuff that I really love. But you're paying more money for it. So I get what you're
And it's
saying.
and I will say this, and I will fight this to the death because I have people that bring me. I almost name drop there. I don't want to do that. I know these guys personally. I have guys that bring me competitors' kit, and I go look at our stitching, look at their stitching, and it looks like this guy had a seizure when he stitched it. And I'm like, this thing's $400, and then it's like, oh no, this backpack's $1,500,
Yeah.
and I'm like, I'm sorry, it's how much? So that backpack's going to save your life, save your friend's life, do this, do that. It's going to transform into a jet and you can like fly yourself out of a bad situation, right? You're like, no. Different
Do
different
any of that
tiers,
stuff.
different, but that's the biggest ruse, right? And again, I'm probably going to get myself in trouble. A
Don't
lot
get
of
in
these
trouble.
guys, a lot of these guys that want to pay big money for this stuff. The price tag you see on some of these things that's astronomical is because they're getting military contracts
Yeah.
and they're
But
killing the military on these prices.
yeah.
But
You
they
look at
can't sell to you at a cheaper
right.
price because then the military goes, "Hey, remember that time we gave you this much for this? Why are you selling at this price? We want an adjustment."
Yeah. Yeah. And I think of something like the Aimpoint T2 that's been around since the early 2010s,
Hmm.
and you're still paying, I don't know, $700 for that optic.
And it
Um,
had battery issues. Great
yeah.
optic. Love the guys over there, but it had issues. You're still paying $700. So the guys who had all those issues, they were basically R&D. They should have gotten a check.
Right.
It's not how it
Yeah.
works.
So
I'm just not how
so
it works. I'm just being a brat.
right. But I get what you're saying, that folks that are gunning for military contracts, good on them. Like, and some of those guys make great gear. Like, if it can go and protect our forces overseas, awesome. Like, more power to them.
Outstanding gear.
But
Outstanding gear.
but that doesn't mean that it's made for everybody. Exactly like you're saying. I remember my last year in the military. I was at E5. I think I was living on base, so I didn't have like a house payment, but I think I made like 30 or $36,000 that year. Like, I'm
Go
not
buy
going
a
to go.
$400 chest rig.
Yeah, I'm not going to go spend $400 on a chest rig.
Go buy a $1,200 carrier that you got to buy the bag separate, this separate, that separate.
Yeah,
It's
or
tough.
backpacks. Like, that was the other thing. Like, dude, I was I was surprised. There was a couple times like visiting thrift stores. I like Maxpedition backpacks. I found some Maxpedition gear at a thrift store. $10, $15. Um, yeah, I think I still have those bags.
And
15.
where are they? And where are Maxpedition bags made?
Oh, overseas somewhere, Vietnam, I think.
They're good bags.
They're really good.
I still have Maxpedition bags that I've got 20 years on. But at some point, someone went, nope, those suck.
Yeah, yeah,
Like, I don't even hear about them anymore besides when I check on stuff. Like, it used to be, you know how it is, you buy, you sell, you trade, you talk to people. Maxpedition, people always were looking for this sling pack. I think it was the Versa pack. They were looking for this bag, this 3-day bag. It's so hard in this industry. You talk about what's hard. The reason I started with that is it's almost like it could take you 2 or 3 or 5 or 10 years to be an overnight success. And you know, my history, I've worked in NASCAR. I was an engine builder.
Oh, cool.
Um, I've been a guitar player. If there's like A-list guitar player and a B-list, I was like a Z-list celebrity guitar player. But I was on TV shows and stuff, and you know, I always stole this phrase from Dale Jarrett. Dale Jarrett used to be a NASCAR driver, and he won a race. And the reporter comes over. She's like, "Oh, Mr. Jarrett, you won Daytona. How's it feel to be an overnight success?" And he goes, "Yeah, it took me 20 years to be an overnight sensation or overnight success." And I
Yeah,
was like, "Stealing that. That one's." Coming home with dad. But it's. I think so many people in this industry get caught up with the almost like they're a sponsored athlete.
hmm,
Like if I run this company's chest rig, I got to buy their plate carrier. I got to buy their belt. I got to buy
yeah,
their hat. I got to buy their pants. Nobody wants to admit, you know what? Yeah, not nobody, but a lot of people don't want to admit, like, oh, you know what? That piece of kit's cool. I may not buy it, but that piece of kit's cool. Or I
right.
may not buy it, but you know what? Like that's a good piece of kit. And I've noticed that we've kind of crossed over. I get a lot of guys who are like, "Hey, I'm running this chest rig, but I'm running your emergency kit," or "Hey, I'm running your chest rig with this guy." We get a lot of the we're running an SOP chest rig with this carrier, that carrier, and I'm one of those guys. The world is big enough; everybody can make money. You
Yeah.
know, everybody
Well, and
can make a living. You
it's
don't
nice
have
that
to
you
be just,
guys,
you
right,
know.
and it's nice that you guys make your gear to the point that it can be included with these other kits and other companies that are out there. The companies that have taken the position of doing something the complete opposite of what a majority of folks do, and I'm thinking battle belts real quick. Most most battle belts that we've seen have a loop side inner belt and a hook side outer belt, and I would say like
And they're
90% of
flipping
them do that. But then you have some companies, like owned by tier one operators
Eagle Industries.
that 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 do the opposite, and you're like, why would you do this? Oh, for the less than 0.1% of people that are scuba diving in their gear.
I'm 99%. Let me backpedal. I'm 99% it was Eagle Industries.
Yeah, that's one of them. The other one was GBRS.
I bought one and I was like, what in the world is this? I bought it and the problem is, you know how hard it is to load some of the duty nylon leather gear, whatever. So my agency was still like, nope, you got to run your patrol stuff. I'm like, come on, dude, you got to run patrol stuff. Some weaving that stuff in and
Yeah,
taking it apart. I had that thing fully kitted out before I was like, well, that's no bueno. Like, what's going on here, man? Yeah.
yeah. It's funny the agencies that are still like forcing their guys to wear basket weave. I
Hmm.
hate basket weave. I hate it with a passion.
We were
And
shiny
there's a
leather.
yeah, there's a Angry Sarge. He's got a YouTube channel. He's a follower of ours. We follow him. Um, I think he's working at some department down in Texas, but I think they make him wear basket weave, and it's like, I'm sorry, bro. My, there's so much other better stuff out there, but you get some of these sheriffs and police chiefs that are just locked into old school ways of thinking, and you're like, they can't even imagine there being better product out there.
I will say this as the guy who was adamant and actually got it to where I was wearing a Ronin belt on duty.
Oh, cool.
I get it. I get the it looks great. But you're not a baker at a bakery. You're a patrol officer.
Yeah.
You're a SWAT guy. You're an SRO. Like, I have to use this stuff. And there are better options. And that's the only way I was able to push that along. Is I think a lot of these guys just, the old guard, the old watch, get them out there and show them stuff. But then the other problem, so this is the other thing. The guys usually that will be like, well, I'm not going to run Acetac Gear. I'm not going to run Everlit unless it's this, that, or the other thing.
Right.
They're the guy that will go work part-time in a gun shop somewhere and, some 50-year-old lady is like, well, my husband just passed away, you know, looking for something to concealed carry. And he's got a triple retention to Farland, and he's and he's showing her stuff, and I'm going,
Yeah, it's
dude,
awkward, man.
she just wants a gun to put in her purse, man.
Yeah.
She
Oh,
just
snub
wants a gun
noses.
to concealed carry. She wants a Glock 43 right there. It's perfect. She doesn't need to know how to operate with it. But these guys will go to that chief of police or that assistant chief. Hurt my arm doing that. Hurt my chief or hurt my arm. Go to the assistant chief of police. Go to the chief of police. Go to the weapons sergeant, and they'll just I hate to use the phrase, but I'm going to use it tactard, and
Yeah.
just and the first thing the chief does is fold his arms. He's like, I don't like that, and you kill that opportunity. You
Right.
know.
And it's funny. I'm sure if you spent time walking around at SHOT Show, you would see the exact same thing. We joke about it.
Oh
Wall Street
yeah.
joke about it, where you get those guys, especially in the optics booth. They have the blue guns with the optics, and they're checking corners and stuff at SHOT Show. Like, bro, come on,
If ever there was a place that you could people watch, it's SHOT Show.
SHOT Show.
It's SHOT Show.
Yeah.
We had a guy in our booth doing the same thing. I've got a video of it that I will share with you.
Okay.
And the one guy in the booth who's never, again, I'm going to use the term operated or been an operator or done anything. He's like, hey, that guy's really good. So I leaned in as close as I could, and I was like, he sucks. He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, hey, were there bad guys? Was there live fire? Like, it's pretty easy to operate on a carpet at a booth with a light that's made of,
Yeah.
that it's daylight out. I was like, he just white lighted all of us. You don't know what you saw. He's
Yeah.
like, what do you mean? I said, how about some canopy lighting, operator? Like, let's get some, But instead, it's like, oh, 4,000 lumen flashlight.
Bam.
It's like, yeah, great. But you're 100% right. Chacho's funny, man.
It is funny.
Chacho's a blast.
Yeah, it's our favorite. It's like this past year we were hoping to get all four of us to go. We only got three of us to go. So next year we're hoping all four of us will be there. But that's been like the one trip a year that I look forward to.
So I just got back from Blade Show. I'm definitely noticing the slowness of the industry.
Oh, really?
That summertime election year kind of,
Yep. Yep.
I'm seeing it, and I hate it because I love Blade Show. I always look forward to Blade Show too. If you're a knife guy, like I've got my crate tacticals usually, but I picked up a Medford. Like
Cool.
I'll nerd out $1,000 Medford knife. I'll
Yeah.
nerd out at Blade Show and buy at least one nice knife a year. My wife will. Oh, is it? My wife's the best. My wife will be like, I'll be like, I spent $2,000 on this knife, and she'll be like, was it a good deal? I'm like,
Great.
and
It's a
she's like,
great-
how much? But she's in sales too. She'll go, so how much are you gonna make on it? And start nodding, not doing
Yeah.
the soft close, always be closing. She'll be like, so it was a good deal. How much are you gonna make on it? Did you want to maybe upgrade some of the kitchen for? I'm like, oh no, here we go. So
Never told her.
my Blade Show experience is now costing me a kitchen. So
Oh, there you go.
yeah,
Well, hey, you know what? Everyone walks away happy.
I'm the one who cooks. I'm fine cooking in the kitchen.
Oh, okay. All right.
I love cooking, man. I love cooking.
That's all. Yeah. So it's this. My wife's birthday is next week, but for her, she's going to be gone, and so for her birthday, what I did, I like cooking as well, and I love smoking food and all sorts of stuff. So I'm making like a taco bar for her and her friends, doing
That would be
smoked
cool.
queso. We're smoking some a chuck roast that we're going to shred and use into tacos. And um, what I did is I have like 10 of her friends coming over to the house. I'm taking the kids and I'm leaving. We're going to go see a movie or we're going to go out to eat. And it's just
That's
going to
cool.
be her and her friends here for
That's
like
cool.
5 hours, however long it. And it was funny because we're talking. I go, "You're going to be talking nonstop for like 4 or 5 hours." And she goes, "Yeah, isn't it exciting?" And I go, "I don't think I talk 4 hours in an entire week."
Oh. Well,
Yeah,
we
this
got you
is
for at least 45 minutes
yeah,
then.
yeah. I was just gonna say this is kind of an interesting one because we we had I think this week I did 3 interviews because I had Josiah and Justin from Palmetto State Armory, Tim from Defense Mechanisms, and now you. So they're airing at different times, but I think I recorded them all within the last like 7 days.
It's crazy in this industry how I know all those guys, but if you were the illustration guy at a police department and you're like, "What's Josiah look like?" He would look like the circle with the dot and the little smiley face. I can't.
Yeah.
I know Tim from Defense. I know this guy. I know this man's name. I know his face. I've seen these people. But you meet so many people and you're just like,
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, that's it's funny because the joke that we have at Shot Show now is we joke that SHOT Show's the land of broken promises and dreams, right? Because you'll
"Oh
hear from
yeah,
companies that are like, yeah, we're gonna, especially as YouTubers, like we'll send you this product, you can review it, it'd be great, and then they ghost us, we don't hear anything from them. And so I started telling companies, I think what we'll do next year is when we're there at the booth, we'll take a selfie with you guys, and then when I email you to follow up about this gear you promised, I'll send the selfie so you remember, like, oh, it's that guy. That's the guy.
that's him."
We'll see if
That's
that's any more successful next year.
so. In our defense, we suck and we haven't gotten some of the stuff we've told you out yet. But that's because literally we upgrade everything 5 times before we're satisfied with it. Like
That's good.
I'm looking at. You're killing me, dude. You're killing me.
It's you don't have not asking you to break an NDA,
So,
or
well, I know what's gonna happen.
people are going to be like, "Ooh, when's that coming out?"
And it's supposed to come out in February,
Oh, that's
and
a
it
long.
hasn't because we've been upgrading stuff, dude. So, like, here's the
Oh,
plate carrier. I don't know if you could see it.
yeah, that's cool.
The skeleton placard, we put an admin pouch on it. We added a catch-all pouch so you can have something to put in that area. We added the Velcro for the comms. We lengthened out and made these a little bit bigger
Yeah,
for
yeah.
your cordage. We changed the angle so that you can do first spear tubes, so you can run 4 mags on here, but when you run first spear tubes to your cummerbund, which is coming, it'll actually contour the mag so you don't have just like this 2x4 across your chest. Double stitch and change the padding on the backside. Added that pattern, the X pattern, to do any kind of lashing and cordage there. We changed around the micro dangler a little bit. So
That's cool.
we like we talked about, you talk about, you know, the
Well,
you
that's
know, attention to detail and how do you keep prices down.
yeah.
We if I will say this, we probably spend the most money manufacturing overseas than anybody out there. As
Wow.
far as the perception of your costs and your margins,
Yeah.
ours suck. Ours are not very good because everything's double stitched, everything's hand sewn, everything's sewn on this. We get 5 prototypes for everything. Prototypes aren't cheap. You got to jig stuff
Yeah.
up. But and I shouldn't put business stuff out there, but I really hope people one day understand that if I continue to do what I'm doing with Acetac, if this Bidenomics keeps happening, you could be on whatever side you want, but at some point we're gonna have to raise prices too,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
we're not
Well, we're
making a
seeing that.
killing. People
Yeah,
think
we're
if you
seeing that across the
manufacture
board.
overseas, yeah, across the board.
Yeah.
But people think anything overseas you're making 90% profit on,
Yeah.
and it's just it takes time.
Pace. Well, that kind of steals the thunder for one of the questions I had for you is what products are you guys in development for that you can share that you're hoping to bring to market, let's say within the next 6 months to a year?
Oh, I got a really good one, but I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that
Can't tell you.
D-bag thing, and I'm not going to say a word to you.
Okay.
Because if somebody else, there's no way you could.
That's
Okay, so
fine.
this is the low profile plate carrier.
Okay. Okay. I'm reading between the lines.
Not a heavier plate carrier.
Yeah.
This is the low profile one.
Okay.
Maybe
What about,
listen,
what
I
about,
don't want to speak to anything anymore
yeah.
because I'm the guy wearing kit last year at SHOT Show going, the new LPP CV2 coming in February, and here we are in July almost, you know. But
So,
that's what I'm talking about.
yeah.
If we would have released it in February, nobody would have noticed the improvements. But
Okay.
we knew we could have made it better.
Yeah.
That's the hard part.
So maybe a safer question is for the industry as a whole, how um, how do you see the industry moving forward? I mean, you mentioned Bidenomics and kind of the struggle that everyone's facing right now, but what do you see the industry doing to evolve over the next 5 years?
I think, believe it or not, and this is probably a very borderline arrogant statement simply because of my position and what we're doing with Acetac Gear and Everett Survival. I think the industry is going to get a lot smaller.
Okay.
And I know that spits in the face of what a lot of people say, but you got a couple things going on. A lot of cool stuff's already been done. As a gear manufacturing company, we're going to come out with a backpack. There's 1,000 of them. We're going to come out with a belt. There's 1,000 of them. I think companies are going to start kind of dying off or maybe pulling out of that realm. And the reason I say that is this. I say with the nylon kit, you know, there's enough people in the world that we can all make money to a point. When I worked at PowerTac, there was a very, very smart marketing guy that we worked with. And his concern was, okay, well, what happens when everyone buys a flashlight? And I kind of giggled. I was like, you think everyone buys one flashlight? He's like, I have one flashlight. I'm like, no, you don't. You just don't realize you don't have more than one flashlight. So I was pushing for weapon lights, pushing for weapon lights, pushing for weapon lights, and it wasn't happening. Didn't like the design we had. It was a great design. The light itself was great, but I just felt like it could have been improved a little bit. Their big thing was, well, why are we going to develop all these weapon lights for one or two lights per person? I'm like, you're out of your mind. Like, what do you mean? I've got probably 15 Surefire X300s,
Yeah.
and I've probably got 10 Surefire Vampires, and they're like, no way. So it was a funny story. I called up a buddy of mine, very public figure, but I don't know if he wants to be put on blast here. And I was like, hey, and we're on FaceTime, so I wasn't really like, hey, I was more like, hey. And I said, how many handheld flashlights do you have? And he's like, I don't know, 10, 8, I don't know. I was like, how many Surefire X300s do you have? He said, probably 50. And they were like, what? And I was like, who are you, SEAL? But no. So I asked him how many rifle lights you got. He's like, oh, dude, at least 100.
Yeah.
To them, there's no way that you're spending $200 on a light to put on a rifle more than once. But to guys like you, me, I'm not taking stuff off this to put it on this every day and wearing out
Right.
screws and stripping
Yep.
screws out. I don't have time for that. I think this industry is gonna catch up to that. And what I mean by catch up to that is I think there are enough people that figured out, hey, we can make chest rigs too. We can make ARs too. We can
Yeah.
make handguns too. But now it's so saturated with the mainstays that it's very hard to come out with something truly organic
Yeah.
and truly revolutionary.
Yep.
So I would venture to say the next thing in this industry is you're coming out of a 4-year buyer acquisition phase because you had the pistol brace thing open back up, you had the magazine thing that happened again, you had, who you had in office, love them or hate them. I don't care what side you're on, but let's be realistic. Everyone's been buying ammo, they've been buying guns, they've been buying this, they've been buying that. You've got a war in the Ukraine, which means people were selling stuff. You got a war in Israel, which means people were selling stuff. I honestly think you're going to see some companies start to do this or pull away from certain strategies. I really do.
Yeah, it's interesting because there's been a couple companies that we've talked to, and I won't name names, but a gear company, you're going, why are you guys you're doing something completely outside of the nylon realm? And they didn't give me that answer, but now that you're saying that, it makes sense that they were saying something like, well, we just thought it would be good to diversify. But now,
Diversify.
yeah, now you're saying this, it's like maybe that's what Rob's talking about. They're calling it
Diversify.
diversification, but
Diversify means, we got to figure something out.
yeah, interesting.
Nobody goes, okay, perfect example. Does a lion hunt for food the day after it eats?
No,
Why?
doesn't need to.
Okay. So why would you diversify into non-nylon goods if you're a non-nylon good manufacturer if you didn't need to eat?
It's a great question. I mean, it's not like they're
They
stuck.
may just be excited about it,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
for us,
yeah. Yep,
if we do t-shirts or hats or
sure.
backpacks or bags, but if for us to dive out of our lane, and I'm only saying this because you don't want to name the company and that's fine. For us to dive out of our lane, it's either we're really excited about it or
There's
we're running out of bread money,
yeah.
you know?
Well, and that's something like it would be weird if next month Acetac's like, check out our new LPVO, Acetac Gear LPVO, right? But there
Not
are
on my
some,
watch, sir.
yeah,
Not on my watch.
but there's some companies that are. I'll use. I saw this email yesterday. Griffin Armament. I love the Griffin guys. Um, make suppressors. They make AR related stuff. But the email that I got from them was, check out our new second focal plane LPVO. It's interesting that they're making optics now. I mean, it goes along with firearms, I guess, but yeah. Anyways,
So
that was
I
just
don't want to say my initial. See, what I should do is just basically blast everyone that I have an opinion on, and maybe this goes viral, and Jason and I are the next Joe Rogan podcast.
there we go.
But
The Jason and Rob podcast.
Jason and Rob going hot or something, right?
Yeah,
Um, but that could be a totally different podcast,
it could be.
or on an OnlyFans. But um, long story short, when you start seeing, even in life lessons from Rob from Acetac Gear, when you start seeing people venture outside of their lane,
Hmm.
keep your eyes open.
Yeah.
Keep your eyes open. So almost name drop there. So I don't care. A long time ago, Surefire supposedly was going to stop making flashlights
Oh, interesting.
and just do suppressors.
Okay.
What?
Yeah. Well, because they kind of
Big
had part of
military contracts.
that military contract for that SOCOM suppressor.
Yep. But it's like I would have killed at PowerTac to have the brand name recognition that they have
Yeah.
when I was there. I would have killed for that. If I had the brand name recognition they had there, I'd be on a yacht in Fiji right now. Okay? Because it would be so easy to sell your product. In this situation, I don't ever, we've mentioned that, I don't ever get behind a product that I'm not passionate about. And the day
Yeah.
that I lose that passion, I'm done. So it's so cool working and doing what I'm doing with Acetac right now. I want Acetac to blow up the world. Okay? I want everyone,
Not
I
literally.
want
He
to,
doesn't mean literally NSA.
no, I mean literally, like, let's get this podcast flagged. Because Gene Simmons, talk bad about me, talk good about me, just talk about me, right? So I should have worn one of those ATF shirts. I
Yeah.
should have worn one of those. A lot of those at Blade Show. But no, I just, I want to see Ace Tac succeed. I genuinely, and when I say succeed, I mean, we're doing great right now, and I cannot be more thankful of everybody that's doing stuff with us. We're doing awesome on every avenue. We got a lot of great dealers, a lot of great support. But when I say succeed, I mean, I want to be able to give more YouTubers stuff.
Yeah.
Now, I know I'm going to get 5,000 emails and Instagrams because I said that, but like, I love when people are excited about our stuff
Yeah.
because I'm excited about it. It's like when you play a guitar. If I said I'm excited about it and there was fireworks
Yeah.
in the background, what is happening on this
I don't know. It's
podcast?
something about with your iPhone because every time you do a thumbs up, there's like a little thumbs up bubble that pops up.
I'm excited. I didn't do it. That's cool. One of one. So no, I just I genuinely like we get one of these that we know of, man. No
Yeah.
matter what religion you are, no matter what what your backgrounds and beliefs are, I know we get one of these. And I love blessing other people. I love enjoying time with other people. You know, it'd be so cool to just basically every time someone's like, "Hey man, can I try and be an influencer and get your stuff?" Absolutely, dude. Here comes one.
Yeah.
It's hard
Yeah. I
because
bet.
now, like I said, we're doing great. But now I'm getting like 30, 40, 50 of those a day.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, I got to say no to one guy.
Yeah.
I got to say no to five guys. I got to say no to 50 guys.
Yeah.
But that's the catch 22 because
You're
half the
getting more
time that you get,
successful.
I'm sorry?
You're getting more successful, so
Yeah.
that's happening more often. Like, yeah, I see that. It's bittersweet. You know that the reason why this is coming in is because ASAC is on the rise. But it's hard for you to say you're just a nice guy, Rob.
Allegedly. I like to throw that allegedly out there.
Allegedly, you're just allegedly a nice guy.
God
Um,
forbid the NSA comes back about that comment that you made.
I
I can be
know.
like,
But I
hey,
made. Wait a minute.
allegedly, Jason made that comment.
Oh man. Well, it's interesting because on the YouTube side, we're we just passed I think 41,000 subscribers now, and the
Awesome.
amount of emails that we
Awesome.
get similar to that. It's like companies saying, "Hey, we watch your YouTube channel. We want you to can you do a video on this product?" And it's usually some Amazon flashlight for like $22. And so our go to thing is we reply and say something to the effect of, "Oh, our video editor requires $2,000," and we figure like that's a high enough number that no one's people are like, "There's no way that they're gonna pay that." But there
I
was one
can't use
company that
that.
replied back and they were like, "Let me check. Let me check with the owner." I was like, "Oh crap. Like if they say yes, we're going to have to do this video and I don't want to do this video." So now the joke between Walsh and I, maybe we need to bump it up to like $5,000. Like our video editor requires $5,000 because no one's going to pay that amount. Um, no one's paid us for a review yet that I can think of. And I'm hoping that Walsh keeps laughing because I'm on the Gmail, our Gmail, and it's just that's like the first thing, like, "Oh, we would love to do that. Our video editor requires $2,000 up front. Let us know if we can work this out." And then they ghost us. I'm like, thank goodness.
Walsh charged me $10,000 and some feet pics. What are you talking about?
Well, you know what? That bastard didn't share those feet pics with us.
Yeah, Walsh is getting. No, I'm just kidding. I love you, Walsh. Um, what was the first? Well, you might not remember because I think I was talking to Braden. But one of the first things I do with anybody, influencer wise, that we talk to, because again, there's also that perception like, oh, they paid him $10,000 to say something nice. Um, I'm gonna send it to you. If you love it, if it's something that you can get behind, I would love to do stuff. And I'm adamant. Hey, I'll send you ammo. I'll send you rounds. I'll send you. I'll pay your range fees, whatever. Because I don't want somebody to do something for free. My
Yeah,
time's not free. The days of me doing stuff for free, I hate to say it. Wow, that sounds terrible. Because you ask anybody you know me, they'll be like, "Hey, you need to be more selfish." Um, because I'll give time out, give time out. Yesterday I had so much
yeah,
stuff to do, and I was on the phone 36 times with just guys asking me advice or feedback and stuff. And because I got a pretty big inner circle, but you get experiences like that. I want you to believe in our stuff and like our stuff.
Yeah.
Because if you're passionate about it, I know you're going to make a great video.
Yeah.
If I pay you, you're going to act like you got paid for a video.
Yep.
Number one, I'm cheap. I don't want to pay you.
Yeah.
I'll
Yeah.
pay you. I'll pay you gladly, but I'm not going to pay you just because I want to pay you to say something nice.
Right.
I'm only gonna, I don't want you to do anything for free. If you're away from your family, if you're away from your friends, if you're away from your passions, your hobbies, what brings you joy in life, hey, I'm on your time now. But I'm not going to pay somebody just to say something nice.
Right.
Because again, we talked about our BS meter, right? People know, man. If you pick up, you can watch the most blatant, hey, check out this review of this new Acetac Gear keychain. The Acetac Gear keychain's a keyring key. But if somebody goes, dude, check out how cool this is, and you can see it in their eyes, I don't need all the specs.
Right.
I could,
Always within arm's reach. My kids love this one, so I haven't peeled it back
that
because they're always
was a
always
plant.
keep it next to my computer because I have two toddlers and they'll always come in here and Dad, what are you doing? And I'm usually like I'll be editing a video doing something and they're like, this is so cool, Dad. Can I have that?
How
And
many
there's
do you
only
want?
I
I'll
only
send
have
you
one, so
stickers.
I can't give them both. But um, a 4 and a 6 year old daughter, and no joke, their dressers are covered with like they have a PSA sticker on both dressers. Like anything that I had duplicates of, they stickered out their dressers in like SHOT Show stickers.
Hey Siri, remind me to send Jason like 100 stickers. Siri has spoken.
Okay.
You're gonna get like my entire Shot Show swag pack. You're gonna be like, who the hell is that? I don't know. Who the? Ooh, Surefire. Ooh, Daniel Defense. Ooh.
Oh, dude,
No,
I
I thought that
still
was
have
somebody else.
those like Condor bags that they were handing out at
Yeah,
SHOT Show. I
that
have
were
one
made
of
of
those
that
in
were
my
made of
garage.
wallpaper. Yeah,
Yeah.
I
I
gotta
have
have fun, man.
one of those in my garage filled
Those
with
are the best.
stickers and patches still.
But okay, mission dictates gear. I say
Mhm.
they were made of wallpaper because it's funny to me because I was like, this is the worst bag. But then I was like, they probably handed out like a million of these things in the
Yeah.
last 2 years. But they work, and
Yeah.
it's a great idea. Everywhere you look, Condor, Condor, Condor. I'm like, dang it, and that's their thing now. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
So like we had the claw machine at our booth last year with the stuffed animals, and you could win a $120 chest rig or a $120
Oh,
trauma kit. You could win the chest rigs. They're $80. People kept trying to steal the stuffed animals. I'm like, we need these because they're marked what
right.
they are. And they're like, no, I just want that stuffed animal. We're like, this thing's $120. They're like, yeah, but my son will love the stuffed animal. So it's like, we got
Yeah.
to have
Yeah.
a thing, man.
I get it. Well, Rob, man, we're over an hour. I told you I wouldn't go more than an hour. I apologize. This
I
has been an absolute blast for me. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day. As we end, where can people find more information about Acetac Gear? So you mentioned
so
Instagram. Where else are you guys at?
Instagram is 100% the highest chance and likelihood you have of talking to me. I am always monitoring Instagram. We've got a couple other guys that do, but I'm always monitoring Instagram because Instagram's kind of my baby as far as the
Okay.
company goes. That's why you see my face so much. But Instagram is a great resource. Obviously, our mailing list, we're going to start really pushing our mailing list stuff. And by
Okay.
pushing it, I mean like giving stuff away, doing really cool stuff on the mailing list. That's available at acetacgear.com. So you just got to go to acetacgear.com, check it out. And then on the Everlit side, go to Everlit Survival, Everlit survival.com. Great medical kit on there. Join that mailing list as well. Other than that, we've got a YouTube channel. YouTube we're working on, but honestly, I spend more time on the Instagram. But the YouTube stuff, we're going to start reviewing a lot of cool gear.
Okay.
I think I've talked to Walsh about some of the firearm stuff we're doing over there, but if not, I need to.
Okay. Cool. Well, again, man, I appreciate you taking time in your day to sit down and chat with us. This has been an absolute blast. Just I felt like I was just hanging out talking to a brother for the last hour. So I
That's
appreciate
that's
that.
the fun part, man.
Yeah,
You
man.
know, that's the fun part. This is the
Yeah,
first time we've actually hung out and chatted.
I know.
I need a
It's been
beer.
awesome. We got to do this more often. Boot Walsh to the side.
Who?
Yeah, exactly.
Who?
Wash? Did you say wash? Um, for,
Yeah.
for those that are watching or listening, we appreciate you guys being here. We'll catch you on the next episode. Adios, guys.
Thank you guys.